Agent Sparrow, good of you to come. Please sit down. Good evening, my name is Violet. I'm going to be your briefing agent today. Yeah. So, I understand that your last agent retired rather unexpectedly. Your track record is something of a legend around here. Yeah. So, there's no way to put it. I'm afraid you got a rookie agent. You've been deemed difficult to work with. But I'll do my best to give you the information necessary for you to complete the mission, and then we can get you on your way. First of all, I'll need your 6-digit access code, please. Great, thank you. And your social security? Okay. And your code word? Okay, that's excellent. Thank you. Before we begin, I just want to say that the mission which I'm telling you about is obviously highly classified and one of the higher order missions that you could receive. The director wishes you to know that she has given you the mission out of respect for your talent, but not out of respect for your lawlessness, general rule breaking, and flagrant disregard for the code of conduct. Heavy. The subtext of all that is you're on thin ice, Skylark. Get your act together. So, the mission. As you know, there is a proposed pipeline going from inner Russia, near the Arctic Circle, towards the eastern border. The program is partly funded by the U.S., who has a vested interest in bringing oil closer to the U.S. near Alaska. So, we've been keeping a close eye on the project. The oil magnate in charge of the project is likely thought to be embezzling funds through a network of organized crime. The man in charge of the program is named Viktor Berezov. Here's his photo. Hard man to get a track on. Came from relatively nowhere, rose from obscurity, born desperately poor with a drunken father and a downtrodden mother. He rose from relative obscurity through the ranks of the Russian army and emerged with distinct honors and no criminal record. He went on to become a partner in one of Russia's largest oil firms and has since rose to power. He was born July 21st. His blood type is A-. He's 77 kilograms and 6'3". He owns 3 properties around Russia, valued at an estimated 100 million euros. He drives a white Aston Martin Vanquish. Try not to steal it if you can. Generally speaking, our intel says he's our man. We have linked him to several prolific crime mobs across Russia, first of which is Rostislav Shubin, codename Walnut. This is his mugshot from an arrest in early 2004. According to the Russian government, his career is trash collector, but it would be better said he is the head of one of Russia's biggest mobs. He's 5'11" and 80 kilograms. He drives a 1998 Saturn SC. His codename is Walnut. Another one of Victor's known associates is Emelian Vinogradov, codename Macadamia. This is his mugshot from one of his arrests. His listed career is that of a CNC operator, but he is the underman to Rostislav and should be feared. He has a violent disposition and is thought to be behind an estimated 13 homicides, generally to be avoided. He drives a 2011 Mazda 6. You'd think these mob types would have cooler cars. But these are Berezov's known associates, and the 2 of them, plus their leader, have been photographed entering into various crime dens across Russia. We know from our data that there's been an incredible spike in finances for the oil fund, as evidenced by this graph. Our intel tells us that it's probably the result of dramatic embezzlement, although we can't be sure until we get some actual hands-on intel. Investment in the pipeline has been remarkably fast, and we're fairly certain that Berezov has been calling in contacts from his Russian mob friends. We have a list of the appropriate data here, and we'll be emailing it to you in a secure attachment. Total investment in the project has been upwards of $16 million in the last 7 months. Despite these dramatic numbers, that's not entirely what worries us. Our agents in the field have detected that the pipeline isn't going as planned. Shown here is a photograph of American construction machinery and a piece of busted pipeline, largely thought to be the result of, you guessed it, the Russian mob. We're not entirely sure why they would be sabotaging their own pipeline, which is where you come in. As this is a mission of somewhat delicate international importance, it's vital that you don't give your information away. These people are clever, and they have a remarkable ability to not be caught by our security cameras. We don't have exact plans for the oil refinery being built. This is in a town called Maragov on the eastern edge of Russia. It's close to Alaska, which is why the oil pipeline deposits there. And in an ideal world, the oil would provide cheap, usable Russian oil to Americans by way of Alaska. Here's a rendering of the oil central refinery plant. You can see it's by a river. We also suspect that Berezov hasn't been honest about the amount of crude oil he's actually refining. And we need you to break into the oil refinery itself and tell us how much crude oil is passing through the pipeline and how much is being smuggled aside to be sold for profits. We don't have the exact blueprints of the oil refinery, as technically it's on Russian soil. So they're not obligated to give it to us. Despite immense international pressure, the whole project remains largely in the dark. The refinery is located on a river, and so our intention is to bus you in on a speedboat and deposit you in the dead of night at the outer edge of the refinery. From there, you will break into the refinery, into the heart of the processing plant, and get actual correct data from the machines themselves. You will be given equipment which will allow you to do this. We also need you to break into the central office at the refinery and get us the names of all of Berezov's contacts. We believe, with some evidence, that he keeps fairly detailed records, and we think that with the right passwords, you'll be able to break in just fine. We have code names and passwords for you, so you can impersonate Berezov's largest companions. These codes will be emailed to you, but I will read them to you now so you can commit them to memory. Please pay attention. Codename Walnut's password, ANYTH 1990. Username Yayoi. Codename Macadamia's password, EQAIF5. Username WITRS. These codes should be enough to get you into the mainframe of the computer. Although we're fairly certain any technology they use there in terms of computers is fairly rudimentary, as the refinery is incredibly isolated and served by only one train line. Still, it'll be important for you to use all of your discretion because there are security cameras. You will have support and intel agency on the line who can help you with the cameras and the computers, but other than that, you'll be largely on your own. From the ground, you'll need to go from the pier where we drop you off straight through the security gates into the refinery. We have visual photographs of the refinery from the air, but other than that, not too much detail about what it actually looks like. I will brief you later on the technology you'll be given to get into the facility itself. I cannot stress the diplomatic importance of this mission enough. You will be breaking into an international oil refinery, and diplomatic relations between the US and Russia are tense enough as it is. We don't want you to get caught, and if you do get caught, we won't be coming in after you. As ever, you will be ghost protocoled. Any questions, Agent Sparrow? We aim to do the drop in about 2 weeks' time, which should give you enough time to brush up on your Russian and get back into physical shape. Your contact for this mission is Yuri Puki. He's our man in the field. Skilled agent. Bit odd, but you'll like him. You'll meet him in Novosibirsk, which is a mining town on the eastern side of Russia. This is his address. Go to him at the designated meeting point underneath the central statue at 2 o'clock. You and Yuri will meet up, and he will give you some more information that he's managed to dig up while you are en route. If all that is fine with you, then we'll begin to go over some specifications for the available handguns you can request for this mission. I will list the name of the handgun and some specifications here that I have written down. And yeah, you can thank the firearms department. I don't know where I would be without them. So in terms of handguns, we're looking at either Glock 17 or 18, a percussion cap Ardessa, or a Steyr M9A1. The Glock 17 and the Glock 18 are fairly similar. There's just some minor differences between the two. They're polymer-framed, short recoil operated, locked breech semi-automatic pistols, both of them. Very famous. I mean, I think you've worked with them before in that case in, where was it? Estonia? Anyway, they have an effective firing range of 50 meters and a fixed polymer combat type sight. So, I mean, they're pretty standard. Not that you asked, but I'd recommend getting one or the other. As for the Steyr M9A1, it's got a loaded chamber indicator and a limited access lock, so there are some pretty significant safety features on this gun compared to the Glock. But it has fixed iron sights, a trapezoid notch, and triangular front blades, so it'll be better for aiming if you ask me. Short recoil, locked breech. Pretty standard. And then, sort of unusual, but we also have a Tokarev Tt-33. Bit out of fashion, but it's a 7.62 millimeter self-loading pistol, semi-automatic, derived from a Soviet design, but still popularly used in the area of Russia where you'll be. It's also still in service, according to this, in China, Bangladesh, and North Korean armed forces. It's sort of remarkable. And we know it's not the most glamorous pistol, but if you decide to go undercover, we think it would be quite a useful weapon for you to have. Plus, it's stylized. It's a really interesting looking gun. I'm rather partial to it stylistically. Of course, you can't compare it to the Glock in terms of firing effectiveness and, speed of recoil and whatnot, but still be nice to have one that's period, if you will. If we're looking at submachine guns here, we've got mostly Heckler and Koch, starting with the MP7A1. It's a derivative of the standard MP7A. This one is interesting because it's really good at defeating combat body armor used in the hands of terrorists and criminal gangs, which is why we pulled it for you. It's gas operated and fires from the closed bolt position, so that's sort of interesting. It has a 7-inch barrel and it's capable of firing 10-shot semi-automatic groups at 45 meters of less than 2 inches. It's a carbon fiber reinforced polymer embedded metal components, fairly standard. Heckler and Koch make good stuff. Now, when we're looking at assault rifles and carbines here, we have a number of them. First of all, the HK 416 D10 RS. It's a proprietary short strike gas piston, which weighs 6.5 pounds, is 27.2 inches long, with a 9-inch barrel length. It can fire 700 to 900 rounds per minute. It's a heavy gun, so it's derivative of the regular HK 416. Which weighs a little bit more, and this is a lighter version. Next we have the Heckler & Koch G36C, derived from the regular G36. It's another one of a lighter version. It's a light machine gun version of the G36, equipped with a heavy barrel for increased heat and cook-off resistance. Useful to have. It weighs 6.2 compared to the G36, which weighs 8 pounds. It's 28.3 inches long and has a firing range of 800 meters. We thought that was a pretty fair distance, although you will be operating at times in more close contact than that, although we hope that it won't come to gunfire if you can avoid it. It fires 750 rounds per minute, so that shouldn't slow you down at all. Then we have the Olympic Arms K-23B Tactical. It's semi-automatic, 22 inches long, a red dot sight, and a railed handguard. It's basically a K-23B. It's distinct in that it's tactical. So the red dot we liked, but it is a giveaway in terms of displaying a light, and the handguard rail. It's just some additional safety. Then we have the M4a1 Carbine. It's a fully automatic variant of the basic M4 carbine, which I'm sure you've worked with before, and it's intended for special operations use, which is exactly what you'll be doing. It's favored by counter-terrorist and special force groups in close quarter combat and urban warfare. It's got a maximum effective range of about 500 to 600 meters, so it is rather close combat for a assault rifle like that. And we can also equip it with a grenade launcher should you feel that that's necessary, although I would strongly advise against it. Personally, that's my favorite, and that's my vote, is the M41, because, the M4a1. It's been tested, carbine can't really go wrong, and we think that, especially for the type of warfare that you're going to be competing in, it's pretty useful, although worth noting that it is sort of bulky. Fully automatic, trade-offs. Then we have the AKMS, which is commonly equipped to former Soviet countries. It's a derivative of the AK-47, which started in the 50s, largely thought to be an improvement, although, hasn't taken up residence in most of the Western world. It can fire 600 rounds per minute. It has a firing range of 1,000 meters, and it weighs 7.3 pounds. So heavy, but a good firing range, and it is a period piece, so if you were in disguise, it wouldn't look out of order. We also have a shotgun, a Remington Model 800 for you. It's pump action, sport shooting, hunting, self-defense. You'd probably learn to shoot on one of these, actually. It weighs about 7 pounds, so as far as shotguns, could be worse, could be better. Twin bead adjustable open sights, so, it's a little rudimentary, but we think you can make it work. And we can equip it with a reflex sight if you want, although that will add some weight. In terms of machine guns, now obviously you wouldn't be carrying around a machine gun, but we can offer you helicopter support, and that would be in the form of a Browning M2 HB. Yeah, I know. 485 to 635 rounds per minute, 1,800 meter effective firing range, with a maximum firing range of 6,800 meters. It's belt-fed and mounted in a helicopter. So, if you feel the need to call in the big guns, you can reach us by radio. We also have, just a sort of a miscellaneous piece for you, is an Incendiary Grenade. I'll be blunt. I'm not a fan of use of grenades, and I can't imagine why on earth you would need one, but you do have the option to request one. This is an AN-M14 Incendiary Grenade. It's intense and violet. Sorry, slipping my name in there. It's intense and violent reaction to a thermate filter, and the end result of the detonation is molten iron. So this is not a piece that you could use on the offensive or the defensive. It's designed to destroy a structure in a relatively stable environment. It uses iron oxide instead of oxygen for its oxidizing agent, so you could use it underwater if you wanted to. But once again, I don't recommend it. Oh gosh, my opinion. I guess I would go for the Glock 17 or the 18 either way, in terms of handguns. Although, I'm not really sure if you're planning on going in disguise, so you might want the Tt-33, although I think what you make up for in, authenticity, you really lose in quality and firing range. In terms of submachine guns, I would either vote for the MP71A or the M4a1, I think. Just given that those are both designed for body armor and close combat, urban warfare. Pretty tested, relatively fail-safe, not too heavy. Although the Olympic Arms K-23B is pretty good if you want a red dot sight, and looking at your file, I know you haven't displayed any preference toward any sort of assisted shooting, but I don't know, the K-23B I think is just an all-around solid gun. I probably wouldn't wouldn't go for the HK416, just because it's got a gas piston and a 9-inch barrel. I mean, that's awfully long. Although, you know, 700 to 900 rounds per minute is still pretty good. And then the AKMS, again, it's the period thing, but sort of bulky and inefficient compared to the newer models. The Remington Model 800, it's a shotgun, so I mean, frankly, it lacks style, it lacks panache. I think you could do better, although I don't know, if you want a shotgun, that'd be the one to get. I just don't really see that being necessary. And, well, the machine gun, you can't really go wrong with that, although you don't have many options because that's all, you know, that's special operations who's doing that. And we can consult with them if you want a different one, but I don't really see why you would have an opinion on that. You know how flighty those helicopter pilots are. And then in terms of the grenade, I don't think it should be necessary. Throwing something like that and ending up with, you know, molten iron everywhere, it's not going to be helpful, and you risk destroying the operation. Now, if you want it for your initial ascent into Russia, I can understand that, maybe to a quick getaway, I don't know. But yeah, I would go with the submachine gun and the handgun. Keep it clean, keep it simple. We want you to refrain from causing too much trouble as much as possible, and, you know, the bigger the gun, the louder they get. Of course, we can equip you with silencers for the handgun should you want them, and I would recommend that. And again, with the optional accessory of the grenade launcher on some of those, but, you know, once again, that would be a little much for such a delicate operation. Now, this was just the profile that Special Forces put together for you. There are other guns if you have any requests, any particular favorites, I can submit it for you. Sure. Okay, and then, so what will you take in terms of handguns? Sure. Good choice. And submachine guns? And then, are you comfortable with the machine gun mounted in the helicopter? Yeah, okay, sure. And then, did you want an assault rifle? Okay. Mm-hmm. Are you sure? Okay. And the grenades, yes or no? Great. Now, the next thing we need to go over is weapons stashing. Since this is sort of a, I don't know, there's a lot of stages of this. You'll be dropped off in one city, and you'll move your way across after you meet up with Yuri and continue over to the actual plant itself. But we can offer to put different amounts of these guns in different places along the map. Yeah. Alright, so now I just need to write down what guns you would like outside the actual oil refinery itself. Okay. And did you want the grenade launcher? Okay. And anything else? Oh yeah, sure. Well, obviously you'll be given a knife in your tactical combat gear, as well as some other various odds and ends, flashbangs, what have you, but, you know, we just want to get this information ahead of time so that operations isn't on my ass. Okay, that's great. And what gun did you want with you as you're traveling through Russia? I mean, I would recommend the Glock. Just keep it simple. Not too bulky. Sure. Alright, well, I think that's all the information we need from you, Agent Skylark. The last part of our conversation here is about the Code of Secrecy. As you know, any and all information that you collect while on this mission belongs to the United States government. Even if captured, it is your formal and firstmost duty to keep that information secret. The team here will do everything in our power to help you complete this mission successfully, but of course, your discretion and privacy is absolutely paramount to the success of this mission. Diplomatic relations with Russia are riding on your back, Agent. Make us proud out there. Good luck.